through the cloudy skies. Kamusta, brother Kristan? Thank you for making time. I know it's quite late in on your side of the ledger, but thank you so much, brother, for making time for us.
Of course, pare. You know, it's always good to talk to you and excited ako marinig din yung mga balita galing sa The Hague. Kumpara naman dito sa Manila, marami din nangyayari dito. Maraming ganap over the last few days. At maganda mag-compare tayo ng notes at makita nga natin yung mga iba't ibang insight natin dito sa mga
Yeah.
ganap sa iba't ibang parte ng mundo, di ba?
I know. Just as you spoke, a black crow just landed here. Like when you said marami nangyari sa Pilipinas. Sabi ko, ang dami black crows dito sa The Hague. I don't know why. Um,
Talaga.
crazy time. So while this is fresh, bro, let me get this out of my system, and then we can go to your really systematic breakdown of Imee hearings, atong crackdown sa mga fake news bloggers, fresh off the oven din yung libel case ni Chelo dun sa isang kaibigan natin for the past decade trolling us live from Beijing naman yata yung, yung style ng iba. Let me just give just a quick kind of overview of so far yung so I arrived here right after Mass, the Vatican. So I was first in
Mm.
Roma, the Eternal City, and thank God, just as I was leaving, na-confirm that the Pope was heading back to his residence in Vatican. So it was a very emotional Mass. I know anyone who has been to Vatican, you can attest to the grandeur and the almost the divine architecture there. Some would say divine, but I really felt good. And as soon as I arrived, brother, in Den Haag, ang daming mga Pinoys sa train station.
Oh,
And
wow.
love them were heading home. And then the next thing I know, yung pala yung malawakan nila na protesta. Luckily, I was clean shaved, much more clean shaved that day, and I had shades and all. So I was like, gumagano'n ako. But me being me, so I visited the ICC kahapon. I had a couple of
Mm.
very confidential conversation with a couple of folks who even told me about yung mga logistics na hindi natin lang. Apparently, a couple of other countries were also involved na hindi pa, even New York Times doesn't know that. So I checked that some of my sources. I dropped by the ICC. I saw a Duterte supporter or two there. And then kanina I was in the detention center. And medyo marami,
So,
mga 12 to 15 na Duterte supporters were there, plus yung media friends. And ako, I reached out. I even hugged some of them. Yung iba, yung isa nagsapsaharan pa sa akin. Parang they were trying to provoke me. And I said, no, that was a misunderstanding. Hinag ko pa yung iba. There was just one gentleman who I think, unfortunately, too much fell for the misinformation and all. I said, no, I was talking about this. And I tried to hug. But practically all were very nice, brother. Sila pa yung
oh, wow.
nakikipicture. Yeah, very nice. SMNI, yung mga kaibigan natin, followers natin, by the way, on our page. I reached out to them. So, bro, this is what I always loved about us Filipino. I'm not underestimating the hate and the venom that misinformation could generate. So, of course, I want to play safe. I don't want to be foolish. But at the same time, parati ako naniniwala, at the end of the day, deep inside, mabait talagang Pinoy. Even if you have completely different points of view or almost on the opposite side, mabait talaga mga Pinoy. And that's what I always believed in. So kanina, thank you for yung mga kaibigan natin from different sides, including mga friends natin from SMNI, friends natin na supporter si Paolo Duterte. Kasi bro, you have to feel, it's a big deal for them na detention na si Digong there. And base, according to some experts, brother, he'll most likely spend the rest of his life here.
Yeah, I think so naman eh. At the rate it's going, remember, he's already turning 80. His birthday is this coming Friday.
Yeah,
At,
yeah, yeah.
you know, how long this trial is going to take. With
Yeah.
43 testimonies, matagal yan, di ba? So, I'm just wondering, Richard, while you were there, it's interesting to hear you say, yun nga na nakilala mo nga yung mga Duterte supporters at it is so good to know na matitino naman pala ang mga Pinoy
Yeah.
pag outside of social media. At hindi sila kasing venomous tuwing ko compared tuwing nasa social media sila.
Yeah.
Yun ang magandang narinig ko dito at nagulat nga ako nung sinabing 12 to 15. Kala ko sasabihin mo 12 to 15,000 eh. 12 to 15 pala. At babanggitin ko na rin, Richard, as much as there are OFWs that are at The Hague, coming from all over Europe, di ba?
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
understand correctly, maraming mga nagme-mensahe din sa akin ng mga OFWs from different parts of the world na nagsasabi din nga na hindi sila sangayon sa nangyayari at what you see is not representative of all the OFWs. As a matter of fact, that could be even maybe
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was a majority, but it's a good number. Of
Yeah.
course, understandably so. Pero yun yung nakikita kong dynamics dito is how it's being played out.
Yeah.
and versus the fact that you're down there on the ground at how you see it and how it's portrayed on social media. May pinagkaiba ba yung social media perspective versus being on the ground and seeing it live in front of you?
Yes, I mean over Sunday, by some estimate, 2,000 ang dumalo, and we know this is from all over Europe. So I mean, it's not a small number, but of course, considering how large the Filipino community here is in Europe, right? 2,000 is also not that large, so you have to always put it in perspective. Ako, I have cousins also here in Europe, and they were telling me na pag OFW ka, mostly yung messages na makukuha mo is more the refracted Duterte influence one. Kasi 'di ba?
Mm.
Um, one thing you have to give to the Duterte networks of information or disinformation is that they have worked this for more than a decade. Matagal na nilang
Yes.
ginagawa yun, bro. So, kumbaga, may hook na sila eh. And, of course, we're Ilocanos, right? So when I hear my Ilocano cousins saying, pare, rinig ko dyan, taas ng krimen, taas ng ganyan. Sabi ko, saan mo kinukuha yung mga yan? Sabi niya ganyan. Sabi ko, yeah, see? Sabi ko, that's exactly what So there's unfortunately disinformation ecosystem there. But I think it's also more fundamental. But based on my own experience of dealing with OFWs from all around the world, brother, they're so desperate for change back home. Kasi syempre homesick sila.
Mm.
Um, they're constantly updating on the country, but their sources could be more like Maharlika than you and me. Some of them, not all of them, or at least some of these outlets rather than the more mainstream, neutral, objective outlets. And then I think a lot of them, of course, they've been dealing with so much. There's all sorts of microaggressions. You've been in the West. I mean, you're in Canada, right? There's gonna be, bad bosses. There's gonna be racism. There's gonna be all sorts of. So, parang for them, Digong was a representation of the Filipino strength, right? This kind of a macho guy who could say "f you" to Obama, "f you" to world leaders. So naintindihan ko saan galing din yung affinity for Digong, if not really all out support for Digong, because not only did his ambassadors of information or misinformation did a very good job of reaching
Mm.
out to our communities here and around the world, even more pag sa Middle East, but it's also because Digong represented the dream of a strong Philippines, the dream of a Philippines that goes under transformative change. And brother, dreams are powerful things, even though they may not be true. In fact, some would say it was all an illusion. But that's why, bro, I don't demonize supporters of Duterte. I'm more than happy to actually talk to them, sit down with them, jokes with them. I debated Banat Bay, I debated Sasod back in the day. I was surrounded by Duterte supporters in a whole hall. I was never scared of that. I was never worried because I always thought, deep inside, beyond social media and all, we love our country, but they just have to listen first to my side. Sina tao ako. I'm not that meme you see. I'm not that demonized. I don't know. Tawag doon, Southern European feeling guy. No, no, no. Actually, I'm just a chill guy, just like anyone else. But
Right.
having said that, you should also not underestimate. There is grievance, there's anger, and now there's also this kind of sense of resentment na itong nangyari sa ICC. Because I'll be honest, bro, and we'll talk about this more as we go to the hearing on the Senate. I'm not still convinced with the government argument on this. I think they're still developing the argument. I mean, I watched or check interviews of Justice Remulla. I think he himself is admitting na evolving yung views nila, and I think that's not good enough. We need to rejoin the ICC immediately. That's my call, and we should form a truth commission. So in the next 24 hours, we hope to also interview Attorney Conti to also get the side
Mm.
of the victims of this. So we're all on the move right now, brother. Sorry if I talk too much. I just wanted to habang fresh pa tong feeling, meeting all of our friends from the other side and all, and the kindness. I just wanted to get this out and for them to know na uh, I'll do my best to reach out despite differences and all. And I just hope that everyone bukas din sila to my outreach, extending the olive branch. Because at the end of the day, we want the best for the country, even though we choose different paths or ideas.
Yes. Yeah. As a matter of fact, add ko lang na marami din ako nakikita mga mensahe galing sa mga Duterte supporters na dating Duterte supporters. Even the other night, I was doing a live stream. May mga magko-comment sa comment section talaga na sabihin nila na nga sinuportahan nila dati si
Yeah.
Duterte. At nung nabuklat na namulat na yung mata nila at na-realize nga nila na may mga problema talaga sa kanyang pamumuno, doon na nagbago lahat at nag-iba na yung kanilang pananaw. And I think that's the important part is willing silang makita yung mga iba't ibang perspectives para makapagawa ng tamang opinion dito sa mga nangyayari. And to have the humility to actually admit it in public, in a live stream with a lot of other people reading the comments,
Yeah.
that takes a lot of humility. And I agree with you, and ganun naman talaga. I think we've always said that naman na the Duterte supporters are not the enemies.
No,
They
they're
never
not.
were. They're victims. They're also victims of
And we're not the enemies
disinformation.
too. That's what I'm telling you. Hindi tayo magkalaban. Magkarebal
Yeah,
siguro
we're
yung
on the
sa
same
politika,
side.
yung ano natin, mga sinusuportahan natin at some point. But hindi tayo kalaban.
Yeah. And yun yung magandang paalala talaga sa lahat na lahat tayo ay Pilipino at lahat na tayo pinaglalaban natin ng Pilipinas. Ang pinagkaiba lang talaga is yung pamamaraan kung paano natin makakamit yung mga gusto nating kapayapaan,
Yeah.
yung hustisya, yung mga ganung bagay. Pero kung tutuusin ay dapat talaga magkaisa tayo dun sa bandila ng Pilipinas, 'di ba? Kagaya nga interesting yung Tricom, kung napanood mo yung Tricom, Richard. Yung humarap yung mga vloggers doon, yung mga fake news vloggers, at sinasabi nila bakit daw pa yung mga DDS lang daw yung mga nandoon. Kasi alam mo, so ang tanong natin dito, andun ba sila dahil DDS vloggers
Hinahanap daw
sila?
nila ako eh.
Oo nga, actually. Tinatanong na bakit daw hindi ka daw kasama doon.
Kasi
Pero
ano
ang
daw,
interesting,
HDI ko, mali daw yung Human Development Index rankings ko. Yeah.
yeah, kasi fake news ka daw. Oo nga. So, pero alam mo, kasi I think, just to be clear no, on what fake news is versus maybe misrepresented data. I think fake news is when it's malicious and you're trying to create a certain narrative that's not even based on facts. Yun yung problema. At it's so skewed from the facts na nakikita mo na talagang may malicious intention, may propaganda talagang lumalabas doon versus saying let's say like I made that mistake of quoting a certain number wrong. But what I meant was, basta mas tumaas ang ating utang. Kasi, when we're doing live streams, we're thinking off our feet. And sometimes I don't have the data in front of me. And magkamali ako by, let's say, 1 billion to 2 billion or 10 billion pesos. Parang ganun.
My
But
numbers
what
were
I'm
not
trying to
wrong. My
say,
numbers were just not the latest one, 2022. In fact, I posted a 2024 that even NEDA doesn't know about. So it was just
yun,
a question
oo.
of
So
updating.
yun,
Yeah.
yeah. So yun yung nakita ko lang. And right now, what's happening is, yung mga fake news vloggers nga na to, at least nga, nakaharap na sila sa ating kongreso. At
Yeah.
napanood mo ba yun, Richard, o hindi?
Well, as I saw some of the scenes, yung crying and all of that drama. But the one that I really watch, kaibigan natin yun, kay Jay versus Mark Lopez, whatever, like, parang with all the resources and training, these are the best people they can get. I mean, my God. I mean, ganito lang. In fairness, I'll give it to Banat Bayan Sasot na, like, at least there was some sort of back and forth. These other people, like, who? Wala pa silang recruitment standards. Wala pa silang HR department. Parang, saan nyo pinapulot tong mga to? Dito I can be mean. Like, see, I'm very sympathetic to Duterte supporters, including the ones here. In fact, there's a very nice question here. Sabi niya, di ba nasa first world sila, kitang-kita nila yung rule of law. Bakit sa Pilipinas gusto nilang ganun? Ang basa ko sa kanila is developmental yung mindset na because the Philippines is a low level of development, you need a strong man to push it up. Just like what, I don't know, China, Singapore, whatever. So, yes, pag andito ka sa Europe, human rights, rule of law, pero sa Pilipinas, dahil magulo, you need a strong man to get out of anarchy. Ganyan yung mindset. It's a very developmental mindset, right? So, again,
Yep.
you see, I'm trying to be compassionate, right? I'm not judging, nga, no, hypocrite sila, hindi ako ganun. So, I always try to understand. But going back to this, actually, I want to ask you, bro, like, I don't know, I mean, how should I put it? Like, ayoko ng Schadenfreude. I think we're better than that. I don't think, I don't want to go into this gloating, buti nga sa kanila ganun. Parang, alam mo, hindi naman I never forgave them for what they have done to me for the past decade. I mean, in the whole sub thing was this latest brouhaha. Basically, these are character assassination. That Beijing boy one was spreading stuff about my watches and all of that. But excuse me, you never question my integrity. Hello, like I work hard and I come from a decent family of integrity. So nasaktan talaga ako for the past decade. I'll never forgive them for that. But I was
Mm.
also not this mode na, uy, buti nga sa akin, tapos magla-live feed ako. Like, we're better than that, brother. And I want this to be
Yep.
done properly in accordance with the law. Kung talagang itong mga to
Yes.
ay bayaran ng ibang bansa na China, ganon, let's just call it for what it is. Kung ito talagang mga to ay ganon, then yeah, then let the law deal with that. But personally, I avoided filing libel cases against any of them because mataas ang tolerance ko for this eh. We cannot be snowflakes.
pero pero I have to say that even the Tricom when when they invited the fake news bloggers o kaya the DDS bloggers, they were very tolerant as a matter of fact, and they were very tempered with the way they were dealing with them. Kasi sa totoo lang, with the way Mark Lopez was replying and how contemptuous he was, nagulat ako na hindi na nga siya na-cite in contempt eh. Tapos yung sina Trixie Angeles
Oh
Cruz,
yeah.
sina Kiambao, at saka sina, ano ba pangalan isa? Si Crisette Chu. Yun, yung mga yun. At the start, palaban sila, pero bumigay din sila kasi nga, na corner na sila at nakita na nga natin na fake news sila. Ang interesting is, yung lumabas nga, that they, yun na nga, yung photo that they were all in Beijing. Beijing ba yun o Shanghai? Beijing, di
No,
ba? Yung
Beijing is
for that content
behind, yeah,
creator.
yeah, the forbidden city. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, tapos so, ano yan, sponsored trip by China and everything. And yun na nga lang, I'm surprised hindi ng mga ating mga kongresista uh, hinawakan yung punto na yun at drove home that point and tried to be able to investigate further. But nonetheless, I think they were being, yun na nga, tempered with how they were dealing with them, at they were very fair with them. But ang hindi ko nakita at ba't hindi ko napansin na ba't hindi nila ginawa ay tinanong, paano ba kayo kumikita? Sino ba ano ba sweldo nyo? Ano ba trabaho nyo when you're not blogging on this? I mean,
Yeah.
you seem like you're doing this full time. Right? Saan ba ang sources of income nyo? Kaya natuwa ako yung nakita ko that the NBI and the DOJ are now looking into yun na nga, yung 20 identified bloggers na may ties nga to a certain group na parang meron silang singular mastermind, and that's
Yeah.
paying for all of this. Alam mo kung malabas yan, I just hope that when they do that, they have enough evidence, and the evidence has to stick. Hindi pwedeng haka-haka, at para pag ilabas sila to, dapat definitive yan. That way, there is no room for interpretation at makita talaga natin, because for me, again, like you, not that I wish anyone ill, pero if there are those 20 vloggers or bloggers are proven na bayad sila and they're propagating mga disinformation and especially siding with China over the Philippines, I'm sorry, they're
Medyo
gonna go to
treason na yan.
jail.
Yeah, that's
That's treasonous, yes.
yeah.
Treasonous and seditious. So, yun, pag gano'n na, talagang I do believe that they have to face the full force of the law. Yun. So, I mean, let's see what happens, right?
Ako, stance ko lang, like, I really love how General Torre answered it. No, enough is enough and we just have to do something about it. No gloating, no Schadenfreude,
Yep.
no, uy, buti nga sa inyo. Hindi ganun. I was like, okay, finally, let the hand of justice come down. Yung hammer of the Thor come down. Ganun lang kasimple sa akin. But you ask a very important question. Bakit andun lang yung mga aligned sa mga Dutertes? So, obviously, I
Mm.
think factually we can see na purong fake news yung ginagawa nila. But what about the other side? You said something along the lines na, bakit yung mga supporters ni Marcos and definitely supporters ng mga Pink ay hindi ganun ka violent and talagang malicious and pro-China and all of that, di ba? I mean, I disagree a lot with my fellow Ilocanos on the dictatorship of Marcos. Talagang hindi yan golden era sa akin. That was a big disaster for us economically, otherwise, human rights. But I never got this kind of malicious, vitriol, violent, systematic attack. And very rarely I saw yung mga pro Marcos vloggers to go pro China and all of that. So you're right. It's not like one side lang may kasalanan when it comes to doing dodgy things, but I think levels kasi yan, di ba? Kaya nga sabi ko purgatory yung isa seventh level of Dante, right? And then my case, I'm just a troll. I mean, like I'm like a YouTuber troll style. Like I'm just like, did you see? Pati si Hayden ko tumaas din yung kanyang analytics. So in the last month, I tied with Kylie Jenner or whatever. I beat Kardashian. Like, and si Hayden ko, kaming dalawang umakyat. I think people Hey Darian, Hayden, something happened there. So if
Ah,
you look at Google Trends Analytics, I'm one of the most searched names, like top three in the country in the West.
that's
Dahil sa grabe, yeah,
hilarious.
it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. But you tell me, brother, so what do you think should they do in Tricom in the next hearings? Anong advice mo sa kanila?
Well, sa akin, they need to really try to first, they should have a subpoena. I believe they have a subpoena na for the others that have not showed up, including sina Sasot at sino pa ba? Ilan sa kanila hindi pa sumisipot eh. Tapos yung mga, yung mga sumipot nga, yun na nga, nag-apologize, labas sa ilong, napilitan, pero at least apologize. And I hope they got the message that, please naman guys, seriously, I mean, think about it, ito lang, why are some of these people supporting China over the Philippines? I mean, logically, pag
Yeah.
pinag-isipan mo to, we will all come to the same conclusion eh. Pilipino ka pero inaaway mo ang kapwa Pilipino mo na inaapi na ng China, ng Chinese Coast Guard. Bakit? I mean, alam mo that you're gonna get a lot of bashing and hate. And what point are you trying to drive at? And Mark Lopez was caught so many times, okay, during the hearing, really spouting off
Yeah.
untruths or semi-truths or kaya his version of the truth. And then he would deny he said what he said. Kaya nga talagang naipit siya dahil doon eh. So, yun yung nakikita kong problema natin. Ngayon, sa susunod na nag-try ko, if lumabas na nga yung DOJ investigation at meron
Yeah.
na silang report, they should invite the DOJ. They should invite the NBI to present their case na. At kung yung 20 na yon ay ando doon, well, then the TRICOM should make a recommendation. And I'm sure naman the DOJ will be filing cases against them. It looks like they're gonna go after them. At gagamitin nga daw nilang Interpol to be able to go after the ones that are not in the Philippines. Eh, ilan lang sa kanila ang wala sa Pilipinas. So you kind of know already kung sino-sino itong mga usual suspects natin. I want to add, Richard, that having said that, yes, meron din namang mga ibang mga vloggers ni
Basta
BBM sa
non-DDS. Let's just call them
Philippines.
non-DDS vloggers. Yun na lang. Oo.
Okay, non-DDS vloggers. Tama, kasi DDS na yung mga non-DDS vloggers, meron din naman na mga yung nagmumura, na nakikipag-away, nakikipag-insultuhan. And actually, natatawa ko. I follow one of them. She follows me. She is hilarious. But I think naman, kasi we need that eh. Kasi panlaban mo yun sa mga trolls. Kasi ang mga trolls, kung sobra
Bastos talaga
kang
sila eh. Bastos talaga, yeah.
oo, hindi sila tinatablahan ng mga pag mabait ka, makipag-usap, pag bardagulan tayo. At doon sila talagang napapahiya. At kahit naman sa atin, pag nagla-livestream tayo, Richard, and when I do my live streams, sometimes pag may makita akong DDS dyan na nangiinsulto, ay, pag ma-chepohan ko yung kanyang message, yung kanyang comment, naku, mandayan sa akin. Talagang barado yan, di ba? Pero yung kasi, yun ang style na naiintindihan nila eh. And some of them, here's the irony, some of them actually message me religiously to the point that I actually consider them a fan, not somebody who hates me. At eventually, biglang bumait siya sa akin na parang, ay Chris, pero mo akong turuan paano mag-crypto. Kaya lang, DDS ako, baka ayaw mo sa akin. So,
Baka maling
nakakatawa
crypto ang
talaga
benta
yung
mo
mga
sa
iba't ibang
kanya.
ugali.
Baka maling crypto
Yeah,
ang benta mo sa kanya.
it's interesting talaga. I wanted to add lang one more thing, Richard.
Please,
Is
please,
that
please.
yun, like right now they're facing a lot of legal problems kasi nga not only with the government but with individuals kasi they do say a lot of libelous things.
Yeah.
And you've been attacked so many times to that. Ang tanong ko, Richard, ito lang. When does it couple yung nangyari sa Rappler recently? Rappler ba yun or one of the news media where they said nga na hindi naman daw nag-seek ng asylum according to China si Duterte sa kanila. So fake news ba yun? O, ano yung pinagkaiba nila ng news outlet kumpara sa isang DDS blogger na nagkakalat ng kanilang fake news? What's your take on this?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people or serious people just try to avoid the term fake news and use the word disinformation versus misinformation. So misinformation is siguro nagkamali ka lang. Your source was not correct. You overlook certain data. That's misinformation, or you misinterpreted the data. Disinformation meaning talagang character assassination to. You're pushing for a certain political agenda by really making up things that never existed. And you know very well it never existed. So iba yung
Mm.
kunyari may sasabihin ka na na talagang na you unintentionally thought was true, pero yung pala it didn't turn out true. That's misinformation or just mistake. Period. Right? Everyone
Right.
commits mistake. New York Times committed mistake on the Iraq War, whatever. Pero disinformation is iba. Alam mo talaga yung ginagawa mo ay fake. I mean, talagang artificial, I mean, a constructed reality. And you use that constructed reality to push for a certain agenda. So, for instance, you go there and say, etong Coast Guard guy na to ay bayaran ng CIA. Right?
Right.
That's different from saying something like masyadong pro-US yung government natin at masyadong dependent. You see that those two are very different. So when Mark Lopez, whatever is the name of that guy, yung basta yung Kim Jong Un na yan, whenever kasi hinamon ako makipag MMA dati, right? So I used to post my MMA mga ganun, and then hinamon ako, sabi ko wait lang, I don't think we're in the same weight class, but I don't want to body shame, sorry about that. But going back to this, no, going back to this, iba eh. They're basically accusing people of being on the payroll of others, of ibang
Yes.
usapan yan doon sa sasabihin mo, masyado kang depende sa US, we have to be more so the two are very very different. And doon mo nahuli talaga na ito mga to ay fake news peddler or actually disinformation merchants, entrepreneurs
Okay.
of disinformation. And if there's a money trail, that means they're actually paid to do that.
Yon.
Ibang usapan pa yan. Ibang usapan yung ganyan ka, tapos nagkamali ka lang. Iba yung binabayaran ka para sirain ng ibang tao. Iba na yan. That's what we're talking about here.
Yes, that's when it becomes very serious offense na no pag nakita ka na may money trail. Banggitin ko rin that what was interesting for me kasi nga like when that article came out on the news media na nag-seek daw ng asylum si Duterte sa China tapos ni-reject daw and then China rebutted that statement and said no, he never actually seek asylum. To begin with, I don't trust the Chinese news, the Chinese communications office, kasi they have been known to spread disinformation themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
so many times on so many levels with regards especially to their neighbors, including the Philippines. So I always take what they say with a grain of salt. Kaya kahit na yun ang sinabi na nga ng China, hindi ko pa rin masasabi na, yeah, that's the actual truth or did the news really know the truth and China's just denying it para walang mapahiya? We don't know. So in this case, hindi mo pwedeng masabi that that they actually got the wrong information because they still could have gotten the right information. And China was just trying to cover their tracks para walang mapapahiya in terms of diplomacy and foreign relations,
And it's
especially with
possible,
the
bro.
former
I'm sorry
president.
for cutting you. It's possible also that sometimes they're contradictory positioning in China. So I don't know if I
Oh
told you
yeah.
earlier. I was supposed to be in Hainan now to be a VIP speaker at the Boao Forum. This is the World Economic Forum. That invitation was cleared for sure within the foreign ministry. They're not going to invite a Hidarian to a world event in China without clearance. But my visa was rejected for the first time by Chinese embassy. So that means security services may have intervened. And someone told me, buti nga hindi ka pumunta doon, kukuyugin ka, isi-set up ka. And even the organizers were
Mm.
nice enough to say, oh my goodness, maybe you shouldn't come na rin. Mga something like that. Like, kasi may appeal process din eh. Like I could have used my foreign ministry contacts. Ganun. So actually magulong China. In a sense that you
Yeah.
can talk to different sides of the Chinese state and get different answers.
Okay.
So we can have a debate about where China stands. Now, you know what's interesting is Senator Trillanes and yours truly, we're not pro-China, we're probably the opposite. Perhaps the opposite of that. Pero ang basa namin dito is actually it doesn't make sense for China to just reject Duterte offhand because it sets a dangerous precedence. Remember, brother, there are many dictators or authoritarian leaders and very controversial leaders all around the world, Latin America, Asia, Africa, who actually has they have very close relationship with China. And to them, it matters how China treats its allies or former allies. In the same way, it
Mhm.
mattered how Trump mistreated Zelensky or berated Zelensky. In fact, that's the reason why Assad was given asylum in Moscow. Assad was basically useless. He's a liability to Russia. But aside from the money that you brought in, I think Russia wanted to show to its allies na hindi namin kayo iiwanan. So I think for me, at least one side of the Chinese state has every reason not to reject any asylum by Digong, because it will send the wrong message to all of their allies and friends around the world. Kasi what if one day the Cambodian regime collapses and then Hun Sen says, "Oy, pinabayaan niyo lang si Digong after everything. I cannot trust China." Do you get what I'm saying? So there's that
Yep.
calculation. There's that calculation. So I actually somehow agree with Senator Trillanes na baka ang mas nangyari dito talaga is Duterte really fell for his own legend, and he was really worried that if he stays in China, A, he's going to be surrounded by MSS agents for the rest of his life. I was there at the detention center. You'd rather be surrounded by the Dutch guys here than the Chinese MSS agent.
Yep.
That's the worst prison. Honestly, you think in
Yeah,
China he's
absolutely.
gonna be like another free citizen? No, he's gonna be
No
basically
way.
another jail, like a
Yep.
golden Chinese MSS jail. At least here, it's a real country with real laws, and you know what I'm saying. So actually, if you're Digong, a part of you thinks, kung makukulong ka rin dito na lang sa Hague, at least maganda maganda dito, di ba? Kaysa basically die in China, a country that is hated by most Filipinos, and imagine how bad that will look for his kids. So
Yep.
honestly, I think it's very debatable if really China. So honestly, I'll tell you what, brother. Sometimes I believe China more than the Dutertes, or even some of our own people. I think my levels kasi yan eh.
Yeah, I can see naman why you would say that, ano. Kasi kahit pa paano, I mean, if you look at Duterte naman in his history with the way he lies, he's a pathological liar. It's pretty obvious. I mean, how many times na natin nahuli at umamin siya na nagsinungaling siya.
Yeah.
Di ba? Malala yun eh. So pathological liar yan. At fake, like, di ba, we said na nga, Trillanes said na nga that he is a one-man fake news machine. I believe that so much. At nakikita mo nga doon that ano ba yung, what's that saying? The fruit doesn't go too far from the tree, di
Yeah,
ba? Parang ganun
yeah.
yung mga
Doesn't fall off too
believe.
far from the tree. Yeah, yeah.
Right, may tendency sila ng mga ganun din eh. Tapos ito lang pala, babanggitin ko na rin. Ano. It's interesting how fake news vloggers actually, ito yung sinabi ni, I think it was Trixie Angeles Cruz that said it eh, na parang, well, fake news is dependent on time. It's time-bound. Honestly, ayoko na nga patulan yan kasi it is such a dumb argument, but then she used Galileo as
Sobrang
an
lame.
example. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to address it kasi may mga viewers tayo na nagtatanong what's your take on that? I mean, I already said my take on it and I was laughing the whole time because I thought that was a ridiculous argument. But what do you say to somebody nga na, well, is it really time bound? And is it the same as, yun na nga, with Galileo? What she's kind of referring to herself as on that level eh.
Hindi, bayani sila, di ba? Lahat naman sila bayani. I mean, I saw your vlog on Ninoy. I mean, I was with Ronald Llamas kapon. Sabi niya, Richard, wala na. Forget about Ninoy. Rizal level na sila ngayon. Like, they're like, it's like, talagang national hero ng positioning nila. They're really ridiculous, brother. They're really ridiculous. But I think there's just enough there to keep their flock on their side. I noticed that. I debated some of these people live, and I saw, including Trixie, she was supposed to be a moderator, nakikisakay pa sa debate. But wala akong pake. Like, I can take on all of them at the same time, even at the height of Duterte's power, wala akong pake. But it is ridiculous. But the problem is, bro, they got away with that ridiculousness with their base for
Yes,
so long. I think
yes.
they bought their own legend na rin. So kumbaga they're all baby Dutertes. All of them. Kaya nga, I wanted to ask you, you watched the hearing more extensively than me because I was trying to just follow up with things here in Europe and all. I was in Rome also for a few days catching on the situation in Vatican, yung tulong ng ating simbahan sa mga biktima ng yun ng EJK mga others. Um you would notice, right? Yung first hearing hindi sila sumipot. Parang, who you, di
Yep.
ba? And then eto, parang biglang makikita mo, nagsisink in na sa kanila. Oh my God, eto na. The tide has completely turned. Di ba? You could see that transformation eh.
Yep. Yep. Remember that from the first to the second TRICOM hearing, di ba, hindi ka sila sumipot na the first one, and then sinampahan pa nila ng kaso si Ace Barber, si Congressman Barbers. Tapos, after that, the second hearing, nung nagkaroon na ng subpoena, ayan na. Wala na silang choice. They really had to attend. At nakita mo nga yung demeanor nila. They started off palaban and by the end of it, they were just whimpering and suddenly, I mean, I found it funny and ironic and a little bit hypocritical siguro. that Trixie Cruz was suggesting or agreeing to the fact that we should have some sort of a blogger or vloggers council to be able to fight against fake news when they are the ones that spread the fake news in the first place. But I don't know if you agree with that. Pero ako naman, I don't mind. If, sige, let's have one. But who decides who's going to be a part of it and who decides what the truth is and what is not the truth? And if they're going to be doing that, they shouldn't be part of the council because they're the perpetrators of fake news themselves.
Yeah, actually,
Do you,
that's where you see they're very Harry Roque. We'll talk about Harry Roque. Yung sinasakyan yung latest discussion just to spin it. Remember, I interviewed both on my TV show and also here on my podcast si Representative Geraldine Roman, who actually is pushing for some sort of, alam mo yung mga council ng public relations, PR people, di ba meron sila? Parang self-regulatory almost. And multi-stakeholder. So Congressman Roman was also proposing something similar along those lines, some sort of a council, private-public partnership, ganon. But she has been quite, I would say, humble enough to realize it's a work in progress and she needs more consultation before pushing for a final version. Kasi maraming pwedeng controversies dyan eh. What is the compliance enforcement mechanism? What is the legal basis, right? How do you enforce it? And then what about yung ibang bloggers na ayaw mag-register kasi natakot na mabuking yung kita nila, ayaw nila magbayad ng buwis, diba? So how do you incentivize them, right? So there are many complications to that. But at least kay Congressman Geraldine Roman, she was, she was thoughtful enough to look at it as an evolving proposal and get inputs, and then biglang sinakyan pa nila Trixie yan. I mean, that's how crazy this is. Parang like how Harry Roque came here out of nowhere, suddenly nag-apply na asylum for himself. Like, wait, sinakyan mo pa yung triad dyan ni Digong? Di ba, may magkaganon sila eh. May pagkahari lahat eh. Ikaw, bro, what is your read of the... And by the way, bro, I want to ask you also about the Imee situation. I'm sorry, the internet apparently in The Hague is not as good as I thought.
so
But
what will happen?
yeah,
Well, okay. Sorry, you were gonna you want me to talk about the one for Imee or you
yeah,
want me
we
to
can
transition
transition. Now, please answer. Please add what you want to add, and then we
Sige.
can transition na to the Imee hearing because
Yeah.
that one is
So
an
yun,
interesting one. Yeah.
yeah, siguro lang for me, at this point, I'm curious na to see what's going to happen next. And yung mga, yung mga iba't ibang mga kaso na hinaharap na itong mga vloggers na to, I am curious to see if it's going to flourish. I hope it does.
Yeah.
Remember that si Sas Sasot now has a new case. She also had a case previously na several cases, di ba, with several individuals. Was Ato Maraolio, did he also file a case against Sas?
I
I'm
don't
not sure
think so.
kung
Sila ano,
kanino eh. Basta,
yeah, mga
I know
SMNI people
Sas
lang
has...
yata yung ginasuhan niya. Yeah.
Oh, okay, tama. Oh, so, ngayon, Sas naman has a case against, Shelo Magno, our friend Shelo, Professor Shelo Magno, has a case filed against Sas Sasot because sinabi daw ni Sas na si Shelo daw ay nagbibigay ng bilyon para para daw
Sorry guys, my net is not that good.
parang ganun yung lumalabas. I was laughing and then I was laughing because I wonder if that case would flourish kasi the way I see it naman, cyber libel is kung sinabi mo sa akin that Chris is spending a billion, I mean, it has to make it libelous. But if it's so absurd, I can't just imagine it being even
Yeah.
anywhere near the
Worth,
vicinity
oo.
of truth. Kung
Yeah.
sinabi siguro niya, alam ko na nagbabayad ng content, baka yun eh. So that was a weird one for me.
Yeah, I mean, ako, mataas ang quantum ko. I mean, I've been trolled horribly by these people for the past decade and all. And when I say troll, hindi lang yung bastos like gagawan ka ng kaso, they will make it out as if you're doing this, you're doing that, question, saan kinukuha ni Richard yung pangbayad niya ng ganun niya, parang hello, magtrabaho ka na mabuti, kung may legit kang profession, maybe you can afford what I can afford, right? And maybe if you have my work ethic, you can afford what I can afford. Sorry na lang, hindi ko nakasalanan kung tamad kayo or you're not at that level. So of course, I mean, those were libelous, salacious. Pero alam ko, persona non grata na siya sa Philippines, basically, hindi na babalik yan eh. Basically,
I
wala
don't
na
think
yan.
so. Yeah.
Wala na yan.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Actually, persona
ano
non
yan?
grata din siya dito Nagtuturo yan dati
Oh,
dito.
really?
Pinalis din siya dito, yeah. Sa pagkaalam ko
wow, okay. So So kung gano'n, ano,
Basically,
hindi ang alam
yeah.
ko talaga, Interpol na to at this point kung
Yari
may mga
siya.
kaso nga. Yeah,
Yari
yari
siya.
talaga siya with the Interpol because they will, unless she runs to Timor-Leste like si Teves,
Uy,
wala, then
kawawa naman ang Timor-Leste ginawa ng ano ng mga alam mo na I don't wanna say something baka ma-twist na naman yung sasabihin ko pa. Ano ba yun parang ano yun parang yung Marianas Island ba yun yung panahon nila Rizal na every time they wanna exile someone they throw them there. Huwag naman
they go
ganun ng
there, yeah.
Timor-Leste is a nice country. Ang mga amigos natin yan. The only other Catholic majority country in entire Asia. So, wag naman sana ganun yung Timor-Leste. But speaking of Harry, I want to before going to what's her name? Imee. Before Harry
Ay,
and
yeah.
Imee. Okay, so this is the section which gets more interesting. Harry and Imee.
Okay.
Speaking of Harry, I was told exactly where he is right now, and I can say exactly how many miles he's away from me right now. Like I can almost Uber his location now and go straight there. So alam ko na, finally I found Harry. Well, Harry's applying for asylum, pero mukhang malabo daw on so many
Okay.
levels. Sorry, I know the line is not so good, but I don't know, Netherlands pala, third world pala yung ano nila, yung internet nila. No, but
Internet.
going back to this, so there are a couple of problems Harry has. One problem is, first of all, there's the precedence of Joma season. So medyo nawiweirdohan yung Dutch government kasi that when they gave Joma season asylum here, that created some frictions with the Philippine government and some complications and all. So the Joma season precedents may actually not work in Harry's favor. As people know, Joma season
Yep.
was the founder of the communist movement. Basically, was the ideologue that was overseeing the whole insurgency, purges, everything, right? Including everything that went wrong, some would say, with the communist movement. And then the second thing is, ang argument ng Netherlands is, paano ka pumasok dito? Dumiretso ka ba from outside EU to Netherlands? Kasi if you had option other European countries, why are you applying here? Right? If pumasok ka from
Mm.
Paris, or pumasok ka from Portugal, or why not apply there? Why apply here? Like, why us? Diba? Parang, dahil Digong is here, they didn't even get you as his lawyer. So, so why are you here? Like, basically, nila parang, so what? Right? Diba? Why here?
Right.
Diba? So, marami siyang problema eh. Yung port of entry niya. Another one is,
Yep.
if you see, Europeans are very nice and all. They will try to give you asylum if you're a prisoner of conscience, or I don't know, your Navalny level. But if you have serious potential human trafficking cases and all, the last thing they want to do is to give exile to potential criminals, because that goes very much against
Yep.
their own principles of rule of law. And lastly, matagal yung proseso, brother. It could take years before Harry knows if my chance siya to have an exile here. So in short, this is my wild proposal. My wild proposal is, keep the goods, spill the beans. Meaning, uwi siya sa Pilipinas, he can keep all the goodies, right? I mean, kung may ilang
Uh-huh.
million bang bayad niya sa campaign ni Sarah. So he has many goodies, right? But he should spill the beans. He should really spill the beans. My only problem is baka wala na rin siyang value sa Philippines. So parang basically, wala siyang value to Duterte. Wala siyang value sa government. Wala, persona non grata na siya sa UP, sa pagkalam ko. So, hindi ko na alam saan pupulitin si Harry Roque, sa totoo lang. Yun lang talaga. I don't know if I can say I
Basta,
feel bad for him, but it is not a good spot to be in as far as Harry is concerned.
well, alam mo, the thing with Harry kasi, right now, he is in no man's land, literally no man's land. Ano
That's
siya
good.
kahit sa kampo ng mga Duterte, ine-echepuera na siya eh. And talagang, they look at him more like a liability compared to being an asset. Harry is a liability to them right now. And having him around does not make the Dutertes look
Yeah.
good. It actually weighs them down. Kaya they need to cut ties with him. And I think they're cutting ties with him. Hari na lang is now trying to latch on as much as he can because alam niya wala na siyang mapupuntahan. Kung binitawan siya ng mga Duterte, saan pa siya pupulutin at this point? Wala na talaga. At fugitive na nga siya. Hindi na nga yung babalik ng Pilipinas.
Pugante.
Antayin niya
Wait
siguro.
lang, brother, sorry to cut you. I cannot control. So basically, he went from manhunt to no man's
Di ba? Talagang, I mean, pero at the same time, ako
no
lang.
man's
I
land
mean,
na.
I
Parang
remember
ayaw na
how
yata ng no
vile
man's land,
and
ah.
vicious Harry Roque was when the Dutertes were in power and
Sir
how he
Alan,
would
meron kaming
throw
moral
so much
standards
hate
sa UP.
at people like Manay Laila de
Hindi
Lima,
lang
and
intellectual.
it was horrible to listen to. Kaya right now I have no sympathy for him, and for me whatever kaya sira-sira, di ba? No? Bahala siya kung ano mangyari sa kanya. He's not gonna get
No
any
man's
sympathy from
land.
me. I
I'm
don't
not sure he would like that. No man's land. But
no
anyway,
man's land talaga
sorry,
eh.
Lord. Okay, okay, serious. Let's talk about Imee. You think Imee is
Okay.
basically committing political harakiri because as an Ilocano, I'll tell you, so many Ilocanos hate her guts. Right? Like
Yes.
she's at the rate she's going to be a persona non grata among us Ilocanos, right? Alam ko may
Yep.
tatlong syudad diyan sa ating kaibigan, pinensona non grata ko, but it's worse to be persona non grata in your own home base and homeland, yeah.
Well, alam mo, nung nag-umpisa yung hearing, before the hearing actually started, tinanungan nila si Panelo what he thought about the hearing that Imee was planning to do. Sagot nga ni Panelo was, lokohin mo lelang mo. Yan ang sinabi niya kay Imee.
No
And
man's
he
land.
said that Imee was
Parang
doing this
ayoko ng
as
no man's land,
to grandstand on the
Manhunt house,
issue
no man's land.
at para ma-improve yung kanyang ratings at sana maboto siya.
Yeah.
Pero ang problema, yung ganyang kilos nga niya is going against two people. You're trying to swing between two opposing forces, and that's where the problem lies. She's a Marcos, and yet she's holding a hearing to try to parang ano yung intent niya talaga for the hearing was to try to diminish the arrest of Duterte and make the BBM administration look bad. So yung nangyari yon, nagalit yung mga BBM supporters sa kanya, yung mga loyalists. Kaya ngayon nakikita mo, mga loyalists are saying, hell
Yeah.
no, they're not gonna vote for
100%, yeah.
Marcos.
Sorry.
Talagang marami.
Before we break down the hearing, sorry, I mean, again, this is the witty side of me which gets me into trouble, or the pretentiously witty side. So basically, kung si Hari ay from manhunt to no man's land, ito naman kay Imee, namamangka sa dalawang bangka ang nangyari sa kanya. Hindi naman sa dalawang ilog, hindi sa dalawang bangka siya namamangka, basically.
Yep. Kaya yung ginagawa niya yan, I don't know what kind of strategy she thinks she's doing, and she's not gonna get the vote of the Duterte supporters either. Kahit na ginagawa niya to, may mga nakukuha naman siyang konti, pero
Yeah,
majority is
yeah.
still very suspicious of her. I'm even suspicious of her, and I don't support her. Na talagang, man, this woman is a snake. I've never seen a politician do what she does. And parang
To her
put the
own brother,
face.
to her own family, to her own
Yeah.
people.
Alam mo yung parang the least she can do is suporta naman yung kapatid niya. Di ba kapatid niya yan eh? At the very least, di ba? Yun lang. Parang kaya talagang she's
Or
not
shut up
getting
na
any
lang.
brownie
Or
points
just
from
shut
anyone.
up. Or just shut up. If
Yeah,
you have nothing
exactly.
good to say, just shut up.
Yep. So yun ang nakikita ko with Imee Marcos, and I think talaga with Imee, wala na yung political suicide na nga yan, and she's not gonna win the senatorial race. She's not going back into politics siguro after this, or Filipinos have a short-term memory. Baka naman siguro 2028 bumalik siya, we don't know. But for this one, wala yan.
Wala
She's
na.
out for sure.
Actually, pati remember, yung anak niya yung governor din, some were telling me that he's also gonna face a real challenge back home. So this is not only about her. So she has to really think twice. Kasi
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. It's not like she's winning over the DDS side completely behind her. Hindi naman siya Harry Roque level of, disowned. But she has her own dynamics. Di ba? Naalala mo last year si Baste basically said Karen siya.
Yep.
I forgot. I'm sorry. I'm not conversant in Bisaya, but sa pagkaintindihan ko, parang yung implication ni Baste is sino ka to come to us and talk to us the way you do. Kasi which I want to focus on. Look at her tone when she talked to General Torre. That looks so bad, my friend. General Torre, I can bet if today there was a vote who will be in Senate, General Torre will have millions of more votes than Imee Marcos. Easily. Like, Imee Marcos is going against one of the most popular men in the country right now. That's General Torre. Can you break that down? Kasi ang pangit the way she was cutting him off, yung tone niya, yung cadence niya, and you could see General Torre is like, is she seriously talking to me like this? But in fairness to him, he's really the man, right? He was able to still keep it together. Pero ako, parang wow, this doesn't look good for Imee. Parang the way she's just, parang ginaganyan, biniberate lang. Parang Zelensky lang siya.
Yeah, and if you look at the hearing itself overall, talagang nakikita mo that it was a meant to really sow intrigue and doubt. Kasi wala nang second hearing naman to eh. This is it. This is the one hearing she needed to
Yeah.
be able to do what she needs to be able to damage her brother's administration. And impressive naman talaga, dumating yung DOJ, yung mga Remulias, dumating si General Torre, dumating si PNP
Right?
spokesperson Fajardo. Andun sila
100%.
lahat in full force and hinarap nila to
Yeah.
and walang takot nilang hinarap. And honestly, even with the way Imee was conducting herself, General Torre conducted himself like a true gentleman, and he was forthcoming with his questions, and with his answers, and wala siyang tinatago. Ayun ang maganda sa kanya. Sinasabi lang niya talaga yung nangyari, and regardless of how you look at it, that's his perspective, and pinanindigan niya yun. Not only him, I mean, even sina John Vic Remulla and sina uh,
Can we talk about
what's
that?
the other?
Crispin and John Vic.
Yep,
I think Crispin DOJ Secretary Crispin Remulla. I think Boying. No, I think he's coming off much better. I think the level of
right.
honesty and almost regret he's showing, I think is gonna
You're
work
talking
for
about
him
John
and
Vic.
that. Pero John Vic, parang I heard medyo mixed yung reaction. I don't know. I don't know why, pero I heard.
Okay, okay, right,
Can you
okay.
break down? Kasi
So
you
you're talking
watched it
about
more
Boying
than me.
Remulla,
Can
okay.
you say yung the Remulla brothers, how was their performance? General Torre, wala na. Tapos na.
So,
Hero na yan. Tapos na. He has made it. He's now
yeah,
in the
so,
in the pantheon of Filipino heroes. Pero the Remulla brothers, brother.
yes. So for the Remulla brothers, to be honest with you, I was never a fan of the Remullas. By the way, I want to preface with
Yeah.
that during the time of Duterte, I wouldn't say hated, but I really disliked Boying Remulla and Crispin Boying Remulla. But in this case now, being the
Good
head
job.
of, he's the head of the DOJ, di ba?
Yeah.
Tapos si ano naman yung pinsan niya si John Vic is the head of DILG, is that correct? Tama, di
Yes.
ba?
So one
That's
is interior
right.
secretary, one is justice secretary. Yes.
Okay. So for both of them, what I noticed was they were tag teaming to make sure that they were covering each other's ass. That was the interesting part about their dynamics. Pag may sasagot si John Vic, binabalas siya ni Imee, sasagot si Boying. At sasabihin niya, actually, sabihin niya, that's executive privilege, hindi yan pwede banggitin, gano'n. And you would see that, the dynamics of them trying to protect each other from the attacks of Imee Marcos. I did appreciate that to a certain extent, but at the same time, of course, I have to be honest with you that yung ginawa ni Imee did cast doubts on
Yeah.
the legitimacy of the arrest. But having said that, I argue always with the fact that kung dinaan natin to sa Supreme Court na alam natin 12 of the 15 judiciaries are appointed by Duterte, do you really think we're going to get a fair shake with the Supreme Court when it comes to the fact that the 12 out of 15 are his own appointees?
Oh,
Yun.
I'll not jump to that, right? Because for me, well, thank you for appointing me 10 years ago, but I don't want to go down that road. More like, hindi ba yung hearing ni Imee just shows what's the problem with our country? Na there are too many politicos. I don't know, kasama pa dyan si Attorney Jinggoy, right? Yung ating new international law
Yeah,
expert.
si Jinggoy pa, right.
Attorney Jinggoy. Good morning, good morning. Doon mo makita talaga hopeless case yung country natin in terms of holding big people to account. Kasi there are more than enough senators who are willing to strongman the case for Duterte rather than talk about victims. How many of the senators showed any ounce of recognition of
Yes.
the suffering and pains of the victims? Parang kina-cut off pa nga sila yung mga speakers when they were talking
Yes.
about the victims. Parang, wow! So talagang hopeless case tayo eh. Our justice
Yeah.
system is broken. Don't believe me, take Remulla's word for it. He also admits nag-fail talaga yung justice system natin. So, actually, that
Yes.
hearing shows you, hindi mo maasahan ng institutions natin to hold people like Duterte to account. Period.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I have no problems with the arrest made, and I do believe until now, I mean, we can go over this left and right with any others, with any supporter of
100%.
Duterte. The fact is Duterte is getting due process. Due process that honestly, does he deserve? I mean, after what he did, God, I'd rather not give it to him, pero because I prefer that due process is given to everyone, he should get it, and he's got due process. Not just does he have due process, he has the business class of due process.
Oh,
Think
yeah.
about it. He flew to The Hague, walang cuffs,
Private
in
jet.
on a Lear jet. Okay? Can you imagine with his entourage? Then he goes to The Hague, his own quarters with a television, with a window. He has playtime, a library. He gets to mingle. I mean, wow! Hindi pa crowded tong ano niya, yung detention center niya. That's business class, man. So, kaya nga, walang masasabi si Duterte dito. He knows what's coming to him. He knows what he did. He admits to what he did. And he knows that he is going to go to jail. The fact is, he just understands that this is a chance for him to try to, maybe out of a technicality, be able to get a innocent verdict. But it's, that's wishful thinking right there.
Yeah.
Mukhang talagang hindi na to, wala na talaga
Game
to
over na.
pag-asa for him eh.
It looks like game over. In fact, ang chismis sa akin is baka yung lawyer niya, mag-give up na rin yan down the road. Kasi mukhang malabo yung case eh.
Yeah.
Mukhang malabo talaga. His best shot will be in September to raise jurisdictional issue. But I think if you listen to any expert, Raul Pangalangan and mga others, they have said, walang pake ang ICC how you arrest the person. What ang pake nila is you get due process when you're here. And you're gonna get
Yes.
first world best court system, something that Kian de los Santos and countless other Filipinos never
Did
had
not
and
get.
will never get ever.
Yep.
Yeah. Kaya nga sabi ko, may credibility problem ng government. So one way to solve it is rejoin na lang ICC and also create a truth commission or justice commission kung saan kasama yung truth, reconciliation, reintegration. Kasi, bro, yung ICC dito, wait lang, were you actually encouraging Bato to basically hand himself over? Kasi parang ang ganda ng description mo. Business class, ang ganda ng facilities. Healthcare is amazing here. The best healthcare in the world. Inalagaan talaga si Digong. He'll never get that in Hong Kong or China. The treatment he's gonna get here is world class in every sense of the word. So are you saying maybe it's time for Bato to give up? You think behind the scenes, Cheese will cut the deal? Right? Parang
Alam
ganun.
mo, alam mo right now, the way I see Cheese Escudero, my God, like that's double speak. Every single time, hindi mo talaga makita kung nasan siya talaga. And I think that's how he likes it, to
Yeah.
keep people on their toes, keep people guessing. But what was interesting was, just today, if I remember correctly, Bato de la Rosa went to Davao. At pagdating niya Davao, nawala yung kanyang security detail. Tinanggalan siya ng security
Wow.
detail
Boom,
ng
boom,
PNP.
boom. That's it, brother.
Okay, pero just that in Davao. Pero nung sa Manila daw siya, meron naman daw. Pero pagdating niya Davao, nawala. Ngayon, hindi niya alam kung magkakaroon ba siya ng security detail pagbalik niya sa Manila. Pero hindi naman daw siya, hindi parang naintindihan daw naman daw niya yung PNP dahil ganun lang daw talaga yan. Paminsan-minsan may mga, para wala lang daw madamay at walang samaan na loob, umaatras na lang sila para wala nang masabi. Actually, the funny part was, and the scary part of this was, Bato de la Rosa got volunteers na mga retired police personnel to now be his security detail. Apparently, when
So
he's in
basically,
Davao, that's
militia?
what he said.
He's a mercenary, parang Wagner? Parang Wagner group?
Parang
Ganun.
ganun. Yeah,
Wow.
parang ganun nga yung kinala.
Wow.
Parang may private army siya na setup. Doon kayo yun yung interesting eh. Pero at the same time, alam mo, nung narinig ko yung mga sinasabi niya, I honestly think he is saying that he is going to hide. Okay? Basta pag ICC maglabas ng arrest warrant, hindi daw siya papayag. Pero kung ang arrest warrant ay galing sa Philippine court, sabi niya, he's going to face it daw. I don't know if he will. I mean, he's backtracked on his words so many times. These are people that are not men of their word.
Make
Kaya
my
hindi mo
day!
masabi talaga.
Make my day!
Oh, di ba may ganun pa siya, di ba? So, ang tingin ko mangyayari, he's gonna try to be a fugitive for as long as he can. Pero after a while of being a fugitive, mapapagod ka eh. Nagtatago na lang eh. You're pretty much in prison if you're hiding.
I mean, it's interesting,
Bato
right?
is not somebody. Bato is not. It's not easy to hide if you're Bato de la Rosa. Think about it. You're so obvious.
Nakita mo yung mga pictures na blonde yung hair niya. But anyway.
Na pinahiram daw ni Marcoleta ng wig.
Oy,
Ano yun?
like, speaking of the race, so mukhang malabo na si Imee. Again, of course, anything can happen between now. But I think things are not looking good for Imee now. Things could
No.
look worse for Bato. That opens up the space for the last two slots. No?
Absolutely.
What do you think about what Kiko and Bam are doing? Almost parang halos they're acting as if nothing is happening. Like they're basically focused on their own campaign. Got issues,
Yeah.
ganun. You think that's a smart way of doing it?
Honestly, I think they're trying to sway the votes of either the Dutertes and the loyalists. Eh. Kaya that's why they're not making any public statements or very strong stance on either one of the two positions because
Yeah.
they saw how divided it is. Now, I do believe that merong that it's an interesting tactic. I don't know if it's going to work. Pero ang maganda lang sa ginagawa nila, by staying away from it, you now have the BBM loyalists that are saying, oh sige, para lang matanggal si Bato o mabawasan ng boto, boboto ko na lang si Kiko or si Bam. Yon. Now for the DDS supporters, so sabihin nila, para lang hindi tayo, para walang makapasok pang mga alyansa, iboboto ko si Bam at Kiko. So, it
So
could
third
work. I'm
party
not sure
swing
if it's a
vote.
smart
So
strategy.
so third party swing vote sila.
Parang ganon. On top of the fact that they have that third party na, di ba? The Kakampings and the Dilawans. So with that
Team
already as a
Liwanag.
base,
Tawag ko dyan, Team Liwanag.
o Team Liwanag, di
Yeah.
ba? Versus Team Kadiliman
Yeah.
versus Team Kasamaan. Baka makakuha sila ng mga swing votes there that's going to propel them to the top 12. And I would like that to happen. Para naman maganda yung dynamics nung bagong 12 na darating instead of just a bunch of clowns and comedians, di ba? So that's what I'm hoping will happen. Although Camille Villar was interesting because natanggal din siya sa slate ng alyansa ng
Ah!
Bagong Pilipinas.
Oh! No! Si Crush! Bakit?
Pero
Kulang ng lupa?
I'm not sorry.
Wala ng lupa sa alyansa.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. I'm not sure if it's a fact, pero she didn't attend the last sortie and she was not
Ini-ease
mentioned
out na
at
siya.
all.
Ini-ease out
So
na siya.
parang I think the Villiers are about to kind of choosing their sides or they're not fully on board with what happened. Given that, I mean, Mark was, the DPWH Secretary of Duterte.
Yeah.
So maybe they're kakalas sila. Hindi natin masabi. Pero
So, hindi lang si
definitely
Imee.
sila nasama.
So hindi lang si Imee, others are also being eased out. I'm sure there's also pressure on the others to speak out, 'di ba? Yung ibang member ng Tolentino was basically the Ronald Llamas of Digong, right? He was the political affairs secretary. So maybe some of them have to speak out na. Ito yung mga Mr. Forthwith na ilang buwan na wala pa. So I mean, if you're BBM right now, you have all the cards. Honestly, like all the cards are with the government. I mean, all we're waiting is, are they gonna still defeat from the jaws of victory, or they're gonna just slowly play their cards smartly? I mean, do you think we have underestimated BBM, but nevertheless BBM could still make mistakes? Or do you think that so far so good, and siguro steady na lang to in the right direction in terms of making sure at least the the most problematic side of this equation is held account? Or super open field to para sa'yo? It's still, anything is possible. I had horrible dreams last night. Like, sa dreams ko, bro, it was very open field. Actually, nakakatakot.
Pare, I mean, honestly, right now, I look at it nga as an open field. Eh. It can swing one way or the other right now so easily. We are at that cusp of going left or right or wrong or right. Kitang-kita mo talaga na either kadiliman o kasamaan.
Yeah.
May pupuntahan na yan. Hindi ko alam kung saan niya pupunta. So BBM has to play his cards right on every issue right now.
Yeah.
And he has to really work this well. Kasi nga, he's on a very sensitive position right now. But it is good that he, yung mga like for example, Congress is having daily press cons. The DILG is having regular press cons. The PCO, the Communications Office with Attorney Claire, is having daily press cons. Those are very effective. At you've got different voices speaking out and combating fake news and propaganda. At tama yung ginagawa. Yun ang magagaling na ginagawa nila ngayon because they're allowing themselves to be visible and vocal para sa ating mga kababayan at naririnig to ng mga tao. At doon sila nakakakita ng ibang pananaw. At doon nakikita nila yung mga iba't ibang opinion at least
100%.
that's combating what they're only hearing in their echo chambers. So, malaking tulong yun. And BBM hasn't even done a press con lately, has he, di ba?
No.
Pero the people around him are all doing press cons, which is good. And siguro okay na rin. Baka maybe next week or the week after, BBM should maybe have another press con soon enough para lang to show that, he's still around, he's still in charge, and he's got everything under control. Yun.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, brother. I feel it's still an open. I mean, all the cards are with the government. There is an opening for the Team Liwanag. The Dutertes are really in a very very tough, if not desperate spot. But if one thing we learned from politics, things could turn very wildly in different directions. So I think none of us should be arrogant enough to think na tapos na ang laban and things are. But again, of course, all the cards are still with the government and they have to play it well. Ako honestly, I always want to be fair, no. I think the press con of BBM was not good after yung arrest. I think sabog pa rin yung arguments nila so far in terms of, coming up with a solid one. But a part of me, brother, feels that maganda rin na si BBM did not come out guns blazing, kind of a passionate speech, kasi that would have
Mm.
riled up Mindanao even more. Yun yung nangyari sa akin. Basically, you could see na the game plan was to make this look as an attack on all Mindanaoans, not only on Duterte. That was really the narrative, right? Until
Yep.
Gibo came in and said, sorry, the military is professional and we're here to support PNP, which by the way is under General Torre, who's doing everything he can to hold the Dutertes to account. So game over na sila. So, they're gonna have some protests here and there in Davao, whatever, but yun na yun. That's it. So I think, in a way, BBM's weakness is his strength. That because he
Yep.
doesn't come with that passionate speech and all, he doesn't also rile up the other side. And it kind of just plateaus. Because I was thinking, if I
Yep.
were the president, I would have come out guns blazing with a speech saying this is a moment for justice. But I'm sure lalong ma-piss off yung mga kabila, and then you could go into a dangerous situation. Having said that, you're absolutely right. I always said, the good thing with BBM is he knows how to surround himself with mga totoong tigre. Right? You can call him kuting or whatever, but ito mga totoong tigre. You have you have you have Torre, sorry. You have Torre, you have the Remulias, you have a lot of people also behind the scenes. There are many people that we don't name here, but we know behind the scenes they're doing a lot of work. Well, speaking of Senator Trillanes, he's not with the admin, but his position is very clear. Ang kalaban talaga ng ang lipunan ngayon ay yung Team Kadiliman, hindi yung kabila. Having said that, I think slowly and slowly BBM has to also step up, right? Because
Mm.
ultimately the buck stops with the president. Ultimately, he has the bully pulpit, and ultimately he has to show some decisiveness and strength, and most importantly, spontaneity. I think BBM really has to show spontaneity in ways we saw with all great leaders, right? Whether you hate him or not, Trump has that spontaneity. Whether you hate him or not, Duterte has. But guess what? Zelensky also has that spontaneity. This is an era where spontaneous people have an advantage, right? They get into
Mm.
trouble, like yours truly, once in a while. But overall, spontaneity is strength. Ibig sabihin, real talker ka. I think yun yung kulang kay BBM so far. So, at the end of the day, he also has to step up himself. So I think it will be good to see in the coming weeks and months if he can come up with his fireside chats, explain his side,
Yep.
where he wants the country to go. Because after these midterm elections, legacy years na yan. It's gonna be his legacy years. He has to set the narrative right as he tries to survive this and also improve on his credibility kasi he questioned the jurisdiction of ICC until January something. January 28 or
Mm.
27. I saw the press conference. So they have to close some credibility gap. And then eventually, after this election, especially if Kiko and Bam win,
Yep.
I think there has to be some open conversation na despite all of the Aquino versus Marcos and all of that, we have to have a basic understanding that at least BBM so far is operating as my good friend historian friend Leloy said, he's your standard EDSA regime president, right? BBM has not challenged
Uh-huh.
the parameters of the EDSA regime. So let's see that. So yeah, I think those are the things I can say for now. I'm looking forward to more discussion with you next week, bro, with more updates and all. There could be more warrants of arrest. There are at least 7 people who could be within the crosshairs of ICC. So a group Hague situation is not impossible. So hindi lang ito Digong or Bato. For all we know, baka si Bato pa yung last. Baka, kasi si Bato
Yep.
yung nagdi-distract sa lahat eh. Pero yung pala iba yung dudukutin nila. Like everyone thought it's gonna be Bato, yung pala si Digong yung kukunin nila, di ba? So, I'm just saying, Bato is a good distraction also. But yeah, we were looking forward to many interesting things. But most importantly, I want to hear more about the victims themselves, brother. I think the media has not done a good job. I think us, I mean, I'm a media man, but also as a vlogger, as YouTuber, I feel we have to do more, bro, to give voice. So looking forward also to my conversation with Attorney Conti to talk about naman yung side ng victims. And hopefully that will be just a beginning of a chapter with Attorney Conti and other people who on the ground have been helping these folks. Any last words, brother, before we wrap up this conversation? Because I know it's quite late in your on your side.
Yeah, no, that's about it for me. I'm just happy that we're able to give some perspective sa mga nanonood ngayon, ano? And also, ano na lang siguro, banggitin ko na rin ulit na yun na nga, tumatakbo nga ako bilang konsyal sa Mandaluyong. At this morning, nandun kami, nagkaroon kami ng Unity Pledge and Pledge for Peaceful Elections. Kasama ko lahat ng mga kandidato sa mga iba't ibang posisyon sa local
Please,
government dito
yeah.
sa Mandaluyong. So kung may mga nanonood dito na mga taga Mandaluyong District 1, alalahanin po nyo na tumatakbo o bilang konsehal, independent po.
Please,
Ako lang po yung
yeah.
isang, siguro tatlo, apat lang kaming independent sa 10 tumatakbo. So it'd be nice if we can get an independent representative there. And kung hindi ka naman taga Mandaluyong, kung may kilala kang taga Mandaluyong, please, tell them about my candidacy and get more people to hear about it. That's about it, man. And when are you coming back to the Philippines?
Well, I don't want to keep people very updated about my movements, like just for safety
Okay,
reasons.
okay.
But I still have to do some serious conversation here with European Union folks also dahil we're hoping to finalize a free trade agreement with them. I need to come back to town also to cover yung at least yung aftermath of visit of Pete Hagseth. Pete sharing group
Oh,
chat Hagseth and also Marco Rubio is coming to town soon. So there are a lot of also so exciting ang Pilipinas, exciting ang developments, and it's always exciting to join your brother. Thank you so much, and thank you for reminding people. Please support our good friend Kristan. I'm very proud to see people like you throwing their hat into the ring. Mabuhay ka, more power to you, brother. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and see you soon. And hopefully the next one, next week, God willing, inshallah, we'll have in person na lang. Para exciting ulit. I think people miss us seeing us next to each other with Ronald and the rest of the gang. Salamat, brother. Talk to you soon.
take care.
God bless,
Good night.
brother. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Maraming salamat. Wow. Crazy times. But again, thank you so much sa lahat ng mga followers natin, friends natin. Sa mga friends natin sa SMNI kanina, thank you so much for so kind. I mean, we may have different persuasions or understanding of things, but thank you for all of the kind exchanges and all. Doon din sa mga kaibigan natin, yung iba nga followers na ka-DDS, literally. Thank you so much for very nicely sharing your thoughts and ideas. There was one person, one gentleman who was a little bit, I think, unfortunately overtaken by the whole misinformation and the HDI, Human Development Bureau. But I tried to reason out as much as I could to the best of my ability. Because at the end of the day, you have to engage, you have to reach out. That's the least we can do. Because lahat naman tayo, mahal natin ang bayan natin. We may have different understanding of issues, we may have certain disagreements here, pero lahat naman tayo, mahal natin ang bayan natin. And of course, kaya kanina, out of respect and all, I was very somber. Hindi ako pumunta sa detention ni Digong to make fun there or some. No. I understand masakit to for a lot of people, and I understand in many ways it's embarrassing for our country. It's really quite an indictment of our failure of our judicial system na umabot tayo sa situation na yan. So out of respect, also due respect, I was much more somber mode and, extending the olive branch. So maraming salamat sa ating mga kaibigan, including yung mga DDS natin na followers and all for very nicely and sincerely exchanging views and emotions. Hopefully one day when emotions are a little bit lower and all, I'm more than happy to sit down with you and have a conversation. I just think maybe ngayon medyo mainit pa rin. So kaya nga kanina I didn't do a live talking to folks kasi baka it might go in the wrong direction and but thankfully it didn't. It didn't. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for your love, for your prayers, for your support. It truly matters to us. So abangan nyo, hopefully in the next 24 hours or so, we'll have Attorney Conti, and then we want to also have Justice Carpio back, not to mention a couple of other guests and friends here in Europe na we want to talk to. Again, thank you so much sa inyong suporta. Really appreciate it. And as I say, the strength we get, the sense of sublime serenity we get is also dahil sa ating pananampalataya. So I feel so blessed to have had the chance to attend the mass sa Vatican over the weekend and also see our great Pope, our beloved Pope Francesco, back in Vatican, his home. God bless the Philippines, and sana kahit anong mga persuasions natin, anong kampo tayo, despite all the asaran and everything, sana tuloy-tuloy lang itong dialogo natin dahil mahaba-habang usapan na to as far as the ICC case is concerned and its fallout and its impact on Philippine politics. God bless, and please don't forget to also be a member of our YouTube community. Madali lang yan. You can just go to Richard Haydaran Vlogs on YouTube, and at the price of barely one Nespresso, you can be a member and you can show your love and support for itong maliit na komunidad na meron tayo dito. Salamat, God bless, and talk to you soon.